Hey guys, what is going on? So we're doing a Saturday market breakdown today, and yeah, just going through the pairs. So I just covered DXY, US 500, and JP225. They're very simple. Essentially on the daily, I'll break it down. I won't need to go into lower. We're basically looking at price to gravitate back down into this low, and then just evaluate what happens if we break lower and we tap into those areas, fair enough, and then we can evaluate to see if we're going to continuation to the downside or if we actually end up pulling back up. So we're not out the neck of the woods yet. We still need to wait in anticipation, but for now a short play would make more sense, but it's still in a higher risk place because we are within this corrective price. But as we can see within sequence, this would make sense to continue back into these areas to then maybe even move that way. Overall, we are trading into this. So what's nice is we're actually ending with this, which is then making it a running channel to the upside. So that's the way I'm looking at it, guys, with the DXY. Still patient with this. It's been going sideways for, call it, since April. So yeah, we need to give it time. The US 500 as well definitely looks like it could be moving to the upside. Only reason being is we have the completion of an expansion here. Now, with this in mind, this is more than enough for this to just continue. Now it's at the high value area, which does work as a reversal or continuation. So we have to understand that it is still one of those areas where you've got to be careful, but looking at it on the short perspective, we can see that this makes sense for a short now, because what's actually happened is we've actually tapped into this area of liquidity, which just happened to be a part of that. And then we've now just created a larger version of it where this is technically completed. And then we're looking at it like that. I'm not personally, I don't care about what structure we're looking at, because it could even be this. I'll just invert that again and we could be seeing it like that. So even so, that looks more clean. It doesn't really matter at this point. If we get clear deliberate price action and then this continues, then we might see on related pairs a lot of opportunity shaping up. I'd be gravitating towards something like the US 30 or US 100, but just wanted to kind of point it out. Then we've got the JP225. Now the JP225 is a very interesting one. We're in undetermined territory because we are still at all-time high areas. We haven't really significantly pushed back in. This is still a part of accumulation, but because of this corrective move down, even if this moves, I would need to see something significant for the next run. And at the moment, it's not looking like that. What it's looking like is this is getting a bit messy, and this can evolve into quite a bit. So as you can see with the green lines that I've put on, this could easily turn into something like this, comes up, goes back into a corrective channel, and then moves up, and then goes like that. And then even at that point there, we can still go higher, to bear that in mind. So a few variations of what I'm looking for. By no means necessary does this actually have to happen. We can still sell off from current price action and so forth, but this is what I'm going to be looking at ultimately. And I'm not going to be taking any trades on the JP225, still going to be at a level of observation only because of where we're positioned. If we do just sell off for whatever reason and we start clearing these lows, then I could be entertaining a short. But if we don't get that, I'm not really going to waste my time, going back and forth with this pair. So keeping it very simple, I want to see that we tap in back into these areas, that ray line, and then I want to see what happens. So I can remove these for now because they're very subjective, and then we can wait and see. Starting with the forex pairs, we're going to Aussie CAD. So with Aussie CAD, it's a very interesting one. I'm basically keeping it so simple, same forecast as last week, nothing has really changed. I'm just waiting for price to break that low, create continuation below, and then I'm going to be looking to go short. Very simple. Aussie CAD daily, we can see that we still haven't, Aussie Swiss, we haven't really tapped into that weekly area. We don't necessarily have to. We can still sell from these areas, which is completely fine as well. I just don't personally want to be trading from those areas right now. I want to be looking at to see if we actually tap into that. If we can get into it, even if that, let's just say that comes back up, comes in like this, taps in here, and then for whatever reason it sells off, gives first continuation, second continuation, just keeps going. Those are the sequences I'm more interested in, opposed to taking something in here, because it's unlikely that that will be the whole sequence to sell off. It's likely that even if this sells off to around about here, it could still pull back up and then, you know, make its way back up here, do whatever it needs to do, and then it sells. Alright, so there's so many variations of what could formulate from this corrective price action. I don't want to get involved in this right now. Aussie New Zealand, Aussie New Zealand's very nice actually. So I mentioned this into yesterday's video where I was implementing the new sort of tweak that I've been taught by Ibby. Is basically we've got 50% off this candle. If you don't understand it, it's completely fine, because it is one of those things that you apply at a certain different level off your journey. It would have been a 4-hour entry, my bad. So you would have seen that in the fall and seen, okay, we had solid commitment, we filled this bit of price, and we pulled up on the 50%. I would have set my order here and put 15 pips, which would have just set me just above over here. You could have gone tighter if you really wanted to. You could have cut through the wick if you really wanted to too, but personally I was happy with that. And you take the trade here right now, you'd be running around about 1.17, you would have ran about 1.5, and then to the low you got about 2.6. Overall that's really nice, because what it did was, if I took it on the 4-hour close, I would have probably got in around about 18 pips, where in some ways you could say it's not a massive difference, but it's the fine line difference between 1.82 and 2.65. So you know, it does make a massive difference. When I was going through the data collection 2 days ago, I noticed that there was a fine line difference for a lot of trades. There was like a 2.5% difference to, like, if I used the 50%, it would have been something like 7 or 8%. So, you know, these small things can make a big difference in the right environment. I will be adding this on. How would I be looking to take Aussie New Zealand as well? That's a very interesting point. If this is actually shaping up as it looks like here, but this was made through low liquidity, so I would leave that. Most likely this could actually just pull back up, tap into this area, sell, give me another continuation and go. It's not the most likely, to be honest, and it is what it is. But what I am thinking is, if I go to the 4, what if we do get something like this? All right, this ends up being the first touch, this ends up being the second, this comes in like that, we get something larger shape up. Would I hesitate? Interesting to see this. It does make me think, to be honest, because that comes in, that came there. I would want to see something like that. Take away that first. Yeah, I would want to see something like this. Yeah, Aussie New Zealand's a tricky one, because technically we have enough there to just play the range, but it's more than likely going to still pull back up, so I'd be careful with this one for sure. Right now it does feel a bit underdeveloped. Let's wait and see. If we come into this point here, we come back up for whatever reason, that could be decent. And then what happens is it turns into this and we get the trade to go short. I'm into that. That would probably shape up by maybe even Friday if we're lucky, with enough volume and volatility and whatever. More than likely though, I think it's going to be in 2 weeks, so I'm going to keep it. It might be more of a soft watch. Yeah, it's definitely more of a soft watch pair. So looking at Aussie US dollar now, this one's a bit subjective because of the DXY not really giving us the most, let's say, the best directional price action, and it's kind of up and down at the moment. In a corrective sort of phase, we have to be more mindful that it's become more neutral naturally, but we are looking for the downside. So if the DXY is going down, then we would be looking on counter-related pairs for this to go long, essentially looking to see if it taps into these highs, maybe even a high inflection point, but more likely the value area here, to then just see if it pushes higher or reverses back to the downside. So this is something I will be observing carefully. I think it's probably not my most favorited scenario, but you know, we're not here to pick and choose. So we're gonna have to wait and see how Aussie US dollar shapes up. I don't think it's going to be ready next week. I think we need some time for development, so I'm going to leave that one out. But what I will do is I will set an alert here, and if we do tap into that, we'll go, there is this low here, then there's this low here, so more than likely I'll just say it in here, box that off, and then just basically see that as one little piece of its own, so then see what happens. Aussie yen, again, the value area is pretty much left here, so I'm really and truly not very interested in this pair just yet until we start approaching this area and then that value area there. So for longs maybe, but it's one of those ones where you would have to study this and just know what you're looking for and the risks involved, because this can drop off sometimes and have these dips. But there was actually a decent trade here, if I can get the tool on properly. Yep, we had a trade in here where we tapped into that low, so then you could see it as, you know, that was its own piece, and then internally within this we then had that. So there was an entry within that, but overall it's not really the type of area where I have an advantage at this point, where when it tapped into these lows, people would have really been looking for shorts when they would have missed the bigger picture and seen that in fact actually we're still in long continuations to the upside, and we're in a very aggressive sort of move now. So as we approach these areas, we could see price really get impulsive and then tap into those areas sooner than we anticipate, but we really have to wait and see. Obviously at the same time, a lot of people will be looking to either size into their positions and also take profits. I think a lot of this wicking is profit taking, just a lot of people in their positions, and then they kind of just, yeah, they get out of the market and then reposition and so forth. So a lot of variations of what's happening there. C-Swiss, not really interested in this pair at all. There's the potential for that. There was the reversal up here as well, which made sense, and then we sold off. We had an interesting trade here. It's not something that I usually trade, but there was this piece of price here, and yeah, you could make sense of that, but to be honest, in terms of a stop loss placement, you know, for CAD Swiss, what we're looking at 10, yeah, this would have overall been around about an 8-ish% position, probably been aggressive around about here. So yeah, walked away with around about 7 or 6.5 at most. CAD, likewise, I'm not interested in this pair at all. I think with this price up here, it just doesn't really speak to me as a pair that I want to really be trading right now. If we rejected from those areas here and we continued, fine, fair enough, that would have looked pretty decent for shorts, but now we're just kind of correctively reaching. I don't want to get involved in something like that. Same with Swiss yen. Swiss yen, just where it's positioned, it's not really the one, so I'm going to leave that. Euro Aussie. Okay, Euro Aussie has potential now. This is probably the four is probably the best one right now to just have an observation of this. So we had the value area down there, we've tapped into that low, and we've actually just filled that high. But the question is, we're not really moving away, right? So is this a middle section for something? And if that's the middle section, then are we calling that 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3? So obviously the low, if it's not really been determined, it could still stretch a little bit further, but we can see that there is a middle section to this. So I'm just going to be waiting patiently for the structure to just fully develop. If this does sell off, it is what it is, but I think that's one to just definitely keep an eye on. Would it shape up? Possibly, because let's say if this came in here, dropped off, pulled back up, got messy, didn't really give you an entry, came up here, had something like that, well then you'd know you'd play it into probably this area here to then look to go short anyway, right? At that point there, I think if you had something like that, you wouldn't be waiting for that. You'd just wait to see if this comes up. It probably would come up impulsively, probably give you one clear continuation there, tap into that, and then you'd look for shorts. And that would be what I would be looking for, really and truly. And then I'd look how to take that. So that is basically how I'm going to be looking at Euro CAD, and that will shape up by Tuesday, giving you enough time to trade this. But even so, I'll be honest with you, EA is not very clean at the moment as well. So equally, if this did sell off and it was very messy, it is what it is. Like, you just have to deal with that because that's the type of pair that you're trading right now. EuroCAD I still haven't watched, so it's actually getting closer to the entries we were looking at. Now, there was an entry, possibly this one here, but I wouldn't have said that it was a good entry at all. I would just say that these are high risk. It's a bit annoying because of how it came down here, but at the moment, sequence, it's irregular, it's very corrective, and then we're pushing. So if we get something bigger or we get an aggressive sort of move, we'll have to evaluate it. So the nice thing about this is EuroCAD is now shaping up. Euro Swiss, I'm going to leave that one as well. Similar to Aussie Swiss, it's not really anywhere I'm looking to look for any position at the moment. It's not my sort of value area, so I'm going to leave that one. Euro GBP is nice because it's coming from the value area now, right? It doesn't necessarily mean it's ready yet because we spent all this time to finally get down here. We don't just need to suddenly go. It doesn't really work like that. We need to kind of just wait patiently and see what happens. Now, yeah, there was a trade in here. There was a couple trades around these areas, but they're all a little bit higher risk right now. So I'm just going to remove this. And we're going to look at the next piece of information, which is basically I don't think that's the structure, to be honest. I think it's a little bit forced. I think what we're going to do is we're going to wait and we're going to see what happens. I don't think I'm going to put EG on watch, but if it does tap into these lows and then comes back up for whatever reason and it gets back to these areas, then more than likely we'll probably continue to the upside and not look for continuation to go lower, but we'd be aware of it. Reason being is we'd create a floor at that point similar to this, then we'd go, and I think that's what we kind of want to see at this point. However, this can still get messy and start becoming something like this, and then it comes up corrective and comes down again. You know, it goes in like that, and then what happens is it starts to channel to the downside, and then you essentially have something like that eventually formulate. Just something to kind of just bear in mind that, you know, we're at these areas, but it can still take its time in these areas before we move. Similar to what we saw with the DXY and Euro USD throughout last year. When you get, and even now, essentially, is we get to these areas and then we just stall and we accumulate for a longer period of time. So the best thing to do is just kind of leave it or have it on kind of soft watch, and then you'd wait in anticipation for basically a clear push up. This is what we're really truly waiting for, is a clear push, deliberate price action, which once again would probably need another week to it, and then it creates something larger, and then you can take the entry off the bat of this to then go higher. I don't think it's going to be that clean. I haven't seen very clean price action like this on this particular pair for a while. You do get patterns where you have your serious impulse correction continuation, but you know, it's not one of those ones where it's the easiest to decipher majority of the time. So it's not my most favorited pair to be putting on watch, but just bear in mind that it could shape up, not this week but next. You're in New Zealand, similar situation. It's not really at a key value area as well, so I would still be looking at shorts, but I'd be very mindful that how we're coming into this, similar to as we were just talking about on EG, This one's a little bit nicer because we're coming into it and we're descending and we're correcting, and all we need for price to just really make its mind up, and then boom, get that one signal, price is going to be moving, and then we just get involved and we go along with the ride, and then there's just an abundance of entries. So we're going to be waiting for that patiently, see how that shapes up. Okay, Euro USD likewise. Let me just quickly double check this. Yeah, I'm gonna leave those. It's not yet ready. Yep, okay. And then Euro USD. Euro USD, I think I could probably say it's worth waiting for equally as we were waiting on the DXY. I think as we venture into the third month of corrective price action on the DXY/EU, January, March, April, May, June. Oh, this hasn't been hugely, but anyway, we could probably see price maybe even make its mind up. So I will reevaluate this one a bit closer. Right now, on my reticular activating system isn't really triggering on something really nice about this, but when I look at the DXY, if this is to go short, then Euro USD to go long, how can I get long on this? That's the question that I'm going to have to really sit down, refine, and think about. But we'll come back to that. And then we've got Euro Yen. Euro Yen, likewise with other yens, just not a big fan right now. It's not that there won't be trades, it's just more so it's where I want to be positioned personally, and personally I don't want to be positioned on price action that, you know, could be much higher risk when I could wait for something which would be a lot lower risk and then get involved on something clear and deliberate, right? I think my edge is where I know what price does, but more so studying mass psychology like this is something that I'm going to be spending a lot of time doing this week, and then just getting a little bit better, because, you know, what happened here, if you look at this pattern here, right, okay, yeah, it formulated through the low, so let's just not worry about that so far, but let's just look at this pattern alone. You had your pattern here, you had the little hook point here which failed, price pushed up, it retested this, made its mind up, started selling off, came back below, back into this pattern, and started creating some entries. And then it filled the pattern, but impulsively broke it, so you had enough room to just manage well, and then you probably would be taking out the market, right? Just a very, very interesting observation across the pairs here. So that's something that I'm going to be spending a bit of time this weekend just kind of focusing on myself. I might make a video, I might not make a video, just because we've got the Sunday analysis coming out as well, but that's something that I think is super important. And if you haven't already, probably start testing mass psychology and just how price reacts to highs and lows and how it breaks and so forth. Okay, GBP CAD was actually a hot pair for me, but right now, sequence wise, it's just, that looks messy from a lower time frame perspective, so I'm going to stay to the high, but that looks stunning. From a 4-hour perspective, that looks even better. So nice thing is we've broken the line in the sand, which is good. And now we're looking for shorts. How am I looking to take this? I don't think it's fully set and ready. I think we're ready to go. If we get something like that, could I entertain that? Yeah. I could entertain that, because then if I take the trade here, even if I took, just to be a little bit extra safe, I went 20 pips, because realistically we're not going to get it bang on perfect. It's probably going to push up a little bit. If it's going to push up a bit, it may even tap that area there. Then you'd push in, you get your insurance entry over here, which is fine. and then you'd be in for that trade, managing it to that low about 8%, 9%. If we didn't, and we came in here and we pushed and we got the trade, but for the sake of 10 and the difference between 20, I would probably prefer around about 22, 23 just to be safe. And then I'll trade that into the low there where it would run for around about 1.7, so I would probably have enough room to manage that. And then it opens up the gates for scale-ins, added opportunities and so forth, and then that trade becomes potentially 25 at its most, 12 to the next sort of main sort of areas, but then 5 as a minimum if from that break. So a few variations of what I'll be looking for, but the most important thing is that I have enough room to manage it. So I'm going to add that one on watch and reassess it. GBP Swiss, GBP Swiss, GBP Swiss. Okay, let's have a little look. I remember I was interested in this pair because of what it's doing right now. It's the only Swiss pair that I could actually say that I like. Let's have a little look. Yeah, I could definitely dabble with a trade like that. If we had something like this. Why not? I think that's pretty decent because it would hold enough weight for that push. From a 4-hour perspective, it would be clear enough. You'd have a clear push away and deliberate continuation to go short, and then you'd be able to get it. That's higher risk though because of the territory we're trading in, but then you have to go into the weekly and see what's actually happening. Remove the descending channel. Oops, what have I done? Remove the descending channel for a second, and you're just basically isolating that piece of entry in itself, and you're taking it, but oops, clicking buttons. And then you're literally just taking it from this, right? So you're taking it basically, the pattern's basically being traded off the bat of that. So you're seeing that as, okay, this is the retest of this, potentially the retest of that as well. Equally, we've tapped into that, and now we're looking for the next continuation to go lower. I see that, to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of Swiss pairs, but that one's looking pretty interesting. And then I've got, yeah, this is more of a trickier one as well, because we've got near miss here, we've got a clear little point there, we've got a reach, and then corrective squeeze. I don't want to call the bottom off the middle section, but more than likely if we get a strong push up and then we get a continuation, I'll be looking to either trade into this one as a minimum to just at least walk away with a break even, and then as a target that point there, and then we'll see. More than likely anything could happen, but that price target is what I'm looking at. So I will set an alert here just to be more mindful about it in case we do tap into it. I may not even have it on watch, so I'll come back and look at it, but more so it's too premature right now. We don't have the trade, probably won't have it until some point in August. Oh great, yeah, so that was a bit too zoomed out. Yeah, yeah, it's one of them ones, isn't it? Intraday, let's have a little look. Intraday. Yeah, from an intraday perspective, we can isolate this. Nah, I'm gonna wait for this one, man. Honestly, I don't think it's not that territory. Like, we've got this as a low, so we're sitting at this area. Price came up, which was actually a part of all of that. Came in here. If we come back up again, this then just opens up room for this to then just be an evolved channel where you have something like this, maybe a little bit more open, but and then it just starts a channel. So there's a lot of room for a different amount of things to happen, but I just don't think GBP New Zealand is the one to have on watch right now. Yeah, I'm not. There is trades there for sure, and it's just I don't think it's going to be the best one to trade compared to what else is shaping up. Could be surprised. You know, this could easily just turn around. This could go here, create this, and then there's clear deliberate price action, and then you move, and then you could make like 8-9% into that low. So, you know, this is one of the things I'll just say is don't write a pair off because it doesn't have opportunity from what you see. But you know, like let's just say into that low, yeah, you're looking at even with 18 pips, which is a bit tight, 14%. So it's one of those ones. But for me personally, I don't think I'm interested in this pair because of the positioning. How we're breaking this as well. We're breaking this corrective. It's not the most sustainable. Just want to take that price in. You know, it's just one of those ones where there's a bit too much subjectivity for me personally, so I'm just going to leave that. GU, I don't think I'm going to have on watch either this week. It looks like it's going to be more for a slower week for me in terms of Swiss yen and US dollar pairs, because the US dollar pairs are still looking promising. It's just maybe to have the variations in the watch list just to fill some space, maybe, but honestly I don't think it's worth it right now. I don't really see that as the reason why we're going to sell, because we didn't even touch it, we didn't even break it. I mean, yes, it's valid. You know, if this sold and we're down here and we're going, fair enough, you know, then at that point there I would be interested. I might even consider putting it on watch if that happened. But because of the sake of what's actually happening psychologically here, I think this is a trap, and I think what's going to happen is people are going to get caught out in something, and then it's just going to go like that. And then maybe even from there we get a small sell-off, taps back into that low, and then it moves higher. Who knows? There could be so many different variations. You know, there's no point forecasting over the top right now. My line in the sand would literally be there, and I'd wait. If we broke that, created continuation down here, I'd go short. That's basically it. GBP yen, on the other hand, it was looking okay, but it's pulled back, and it's no surprise looking at the other yen pairs. So personally, there's no trade for me here. But if you did want to take something, I would wait for it to clear that high, create something a little bit more deliberate, and you'd go long with the other yen pairs. And then with this being where it is, it could be aggressive and continue, but personally looking at that run, I don't know, it could start to yeah, I mean, I'm not going to speculate too much, but really and truly I'll just wait for that. Just literally just wait for this, wait for something deliberate. If this formulates into this, then so be it. You could still get into something like that where you'd have your 3 touches there, you'd basically see it as 2, but what you'd really see is that you've basically using all of that price in there, and then just coincidentally you had 3 touches at the end. I've seen things like this play, but it's not really the most common structure. I think more than likely what would be nice is if we did happen to sell from here, then we came in like that, and we came up, and then we used something like that as the footprint. It was something larger, became a 2-touch, and then sold. It's completely fine as well. You know, and then let's say even if you had the near misses and stuff, whatever you want to say, I just personally would stay out of GJ. Not a fan right now. New Zealand CAD, I think it's going to turn into a running channel and just move to the upside, because look how unsustainable it is when it's moving away. It's in a channel and then it's basically come back in the corrective section. So this could formulate the middle section, and then we see this basically make its move, impulses, just pushes for the high, comes back in, gives you a continuation, probably on the 1, and then just sells off. And I think that's a much better weighted entry to wait for, than trying to just get short and long in where we are right now. So I've already got my alert set on this. I think it was from about a week or 2 weeks ago now, and I'm just going to wait patiently on that one. Okay, so New Zealand Swiss, likewise, I'm not going to have this on watch. I don't think I need it. I think GBP Swiss was the nicest amongst them, so I'll go with that. New Zealand US dollar. This kind of plays with the larger forecast. Yeah, I'm going to leave this one because of the subjectivity. I'm going to set an alert here though, because if we do start to rapidly move for any reason on the DXY, at least my alerts will go off and I'll be triggered, and then it will draw my attention towards New Zealand US dollar, where then I can see that if we push higher above this ray line, we can look for continuation to continue to the upside, or if we reject, I can look for continuation to the downside and see this as the overall play. I don't think I'm interested in this larger flag as much anymore, but if we do end up shaping up for this, then I'm not really going to hesitate on it much. I'm going to look for that insurance entry on the third touch, then go long. New Zealand yen, likewise with the other yen pairs, just not quite there yet. Alert is set, and that's all I can really do for now. I'm just going to wait for it to tap into those areas before I consider a position. Okay, so USD CAD is actually a little bit more interesting because it's failing to break above, but the DXY looks like it's going to short. So if we look at this right now, if this was to short, what is this pair shorting into? That's what I'm interested in. I don't think it's going to come all the way down here to go up there. What would that look like? Yeah, that would look very irregular. What is possible is that we do something like this, come back up, back a bit, and then we come up eventually, and then we sell. And then what we end up having is we use that as our first touch, second and third, and then we have it like that. That would be interesting, to be honest. That would be very, very interesting to see. And then we're playing that off the bat of just basically this whole area here. We can't really call the bottom on this, so you'd be playing the bat off that bottom area to then look at that to go long, to then move to the upside. Could even just tap into the high, who knows? So loads of things can happen, but shorts on USD CAD, I don't think I want to be shorting off the bat of this overextended bull flag. It is a bit of a running channel, but to be honest, if I evolve that as well, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this right now. I'm going to leave USD CAD. On the other hand though, USD Swiss still hasn't tapped its value area. So if I go to the daily, this is looking a bit promising, but like with the DXY, it's perhaps maybe that's a part of the psychology there. And we're going to play with this, so I'm going to just be very vigilant with my pairs, but more so I think that is probably going to break and just sell off. So perhaps if the DXY is going short, we're seeing this move. The GC is also moving. We're looking at GBP Swiss for the short. Let's just see what happens over here. And if we, for any reason actually, if we do this, I think we could look to go short. Personally, I think short on this could be a bit more appealing in my opinion. Have a little look. Yeah, I'm not too bothered with that being the structure. Okay, nice. And USD yen, yeah, that could play. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to put this on watch. I've completely decided now, after taking about a minute of just thinking about it, I'm going to wait for this. Probably no. I'm going to wait for that. do this. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for something like that. And if we get something like this, then I could probably entertain that, to be honest. But for right now, I'm not interested in this pair at all. But I will consider. Let's see. Yeah, this probably wouldn't shape up straight away. So we're gonna look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that for now, and it will probably one for the week later. And then USD yen. USD yen looks nice. Whew. You know what? I'll keep. No, actually, I'll keep an eye on this one. I'm going to come back and analyze that again later. And then USD ZAR. USD ZAR actually looks fantastic. You know, it's funny because when I didn't want to take a trade on it, it started running. But let's have a little look at this. So we're good. We're good. Yeah. We could easily create a continuation and move higher. Could do something like that. We just have to wait and see now. I'm not the biggest fan of USD-ZAR, so I'm going to leave that one out as well. Let's go straight onto the yen indices. Yep, straight away. Not interested in Aussie 200. It's a bit messy for sure. The DAX was looking interesting. I was just sizing up a trade in here. This one would have just taken me out for 2.34. It was a 5-minute entry as well. I would have taken it off the bat using the 50% rule. In fact, on this one it would have been more manual because I was actually looking at it live, and then refined it. Could have gone around about 22. So you would have run about 4.73. You would want to be a bit loose, so probably around about 3.5% to about 3% at most. I would have walked away with 3% on that trade. But anyway, it wasn't the one to go. It was more so I was looking at something like that. Then we had the override from this point, and then from the override we're looking at the entry. So I was quite optimistic with this pair. Genuinely thought it had massive upside, or let's say downside potential, but it is what it is. Now it kind of just looks like this is what's happening. We're moving to the upside, but I'm not going to get convinced on the wrong side of the market. I'm just going to be patient, because what can happen, apart from the mass psychology training I've been talking about that I'm going to be doing this week, and is basically this pushes back in, gives us a entry in here, and then next thing you know, the run has begun. And then we were like, oh wait, hang on a second, I thought that it was a failed structure. Actually, it wasn't a failed structure. It was just the mass psychology was taking everyone out and then selling off. But then as it reached, what did it reach for? We moved to the 4. It's a little bit more clear, and we were just tapping into perhaps even that. So I'm going to wait and see, just for observation points. I'll put that on soft watch as well there. Okay, so the UK 100 likewise, it's pulled back pretty aggressive. I think it's pulled back about 50%. Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that for Monday. I think I'm not happy with how the weekly closed. I'm not happy how the weekly closed on that one either. Sorry about the mess. I've just been studying this, so I'll just clean this off actually. Let's have a little look. Yeah, indecisive but good. Weekly looks shabby. US 30 weekly is great. Daily looks not so great. Daily doesn't look so good. Looks like we could be looking for longs though. Well, I wouldn't hesitate on a counter trade here. I think a long could be pretty good. What I would look for right now is continuation, so probably pushes higher, does something like that. and then boom, just goes. So I will be patient with this one, and yeah, I'm not too interested in the rest. We'll put US30 back on. Gold. A lot of people been going on about gold. Interesting pair. No deliberate. Yeah, deliberacy. I'm not seeing a trade right now on this, but see. Oh, silver. Why is there a little fire icon? Silver could have made me some good money, but no, it didn't. But we're coming back now strong. Silver is going to make us dough. We're looking at continuation. I'm not a big fan of silver right now, actually, to be honest. We are in a good value area and we have pushed pretty decent, but I think with gold and with how everything is, I think I'll be patient with that. Let's see, because I think from this low we could see this as a move. I'm going to be patient with this. I'm not ready to take silver just yet. Natural gas, so obviously we did have those trades previously, really nice. Now we're looking at the next continuation, which it seems like we could be shaping up now, which is good. What we're going to be waiting for is, let's say we take that on, which conveniently happens to be a retest of that, and then we're pushing away, so we come in, create second bottom, then we make our way back up, then we sell, and then it becomes that. Right, I like it. I do like this a lot, actually, to be honest. This becomes your range, so I would more so, once we have that floor confirmed, we can take it on. First touch is a little bit subjective, but it's okay. And then we have that as the near miss, and then a third touch fill, and then perhaps maybe an internal insurance entry in there is what I would look for. So I'd look for that tighter flag in there, maybe. So it comes in here. We can get in on that and then position ourselves well, or you could even look for the risk entry. I mean, the only problem is obviously you have that, so that becomes a possibility as well. But I think then at that point there, it's even larger than anticipated. I just want to quickly see if I can mimic that price over there. How would that look? That wouldn't look too bad, to be honest, in terms of size. Yeah, I think I would happily wait for that more so than what I anticipated. So I'm going to wait for that. In terms of it shaping up, yeah, it could shape up next week, to be fair. If that comes in, gets in over here, doesn't quite fill it, gets corrective, comes back down, and then maybe even if we did that at the end, oh, that would be even better. I mean, that would still be quite large, but I'm gonna keep that on watch. I'm definitely gonna just wait for this. That's the plan for me. So I'm just gonna map that on like that. WTI. Okay, so the entry wasn't clear. This bit over here, perfect. Again, exactly what I was talking about studying this week, is basically that, this, and then 15. We've come in. Is there a 5-minute entry there? Maybe that flag there. I mean, if you did, you'd have to have some balls. Let me just remove this. You'd have to have some balls on that, and you'd run around about 4, so you book around. Yeah. Anyway, I think there was the sights off this. I just don't think. I think it would have really put a lot of people off. At this point here, you could have tried it with the 50% retrace. You wouldn't have got tagged in, but I don't feel like. Yeah, this is a good example of, you'd set your 50%, you'd set your 50% there, and then you wouldn't have been tagged in. But it's good to see these as well, because you know, not everything is perfect, but yeah, I like it. I really do like that. I will log this one. Actually, I'm going to take a screenshot of that and save that. Palladium. Let's see, Palladium. Yeah, shorts. I'm not interested in Palladium either. We've broken this low though, so if you wanted to go short, not that I would not really want to say go short because of that, what you're trading into, but continuation down here to go short, fair enough. Platinum, on the other hand, I think is going long. We've got that value area there, we're just stalling. And copper on shorts, definitely one I've been eyeing up well. I think this is exactly the gameplay I'm going to be looking for, is pretty much this point, but more so the first point, just to see how we move. And then I would like to see if we just maybe even tap into that, and then we get an insurance entry, and then we continue. That's basically what I'm going to be looking for. And then you're basically seeing that as your wedge, and then you're getting in on the short there, and that's the pattern. Straight up taps into this area, pushes down, gives you insurance entry, and you go short, and that's the copper trade. And I think that's it, guys. We could even look at BTC. I mean, BTC is closing up to those highs. Line chart's a little bit more cleaner. So what we've done is we've basically completed on that, and then now we're creating some accumulation in these areas, and then we'll get the next move and break the high, and then most probably come back down, and then come back up, and then formulate this pattern, and then we'd have to wait and see. But that's basically how I'm looking at it, and it could become a very nice run to the upside because of that. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and I will get my SMB out tomorrow, so hopefully that will be well structured and put together. But this was just basically a brief breakdown of Saturday, and yeah, so it was pretty early for me. I woke up, did some routine stuff, and then jumped on the charts around about 5ish as well, so I had to get up pretty early, and I went to sleep fairly late. So I'll probably head over to the beach and catch some Z. So anyway, guys, have a good weekend, and I'll speak to you guys tomorrow.